Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the news review, and we're joined by our special guest. But before I bring him in, note that this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And what are they offering you? If you're a man, especially above 40, 38, 40, thereabouts, they're offering you prostate screening for free, gratis. If you're a woman, fertility screening as well, for free. Here's where you can locate Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here in Accra, at Spentex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Energy State, Tema Community 22. There's also Techiman Hanswa and Esiama Nzema. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. I have the pleasure now of welcoming aboard former president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Afeo Moni. Mr. Moni, I pray that as I shake Mr. Moni's hand, I'll get a lot more money. I just played on your name. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
I see my brother has done a Kaunda-like suit thing for you. It's from a different source.
But at the same time, it deserves all the compliments.
Yeah. Or is it the Kaunda suit? I think maybe it's more of the shorter ones.
Yeah.
You know, these ones. But you remind me of the days of political suits and everything. The Nkrumah era coming into the 70s and 80s. Interesting. There's something that because it delves into the media, I want to tackle that before we look at anything. Yesterday, unfortunately, so two things happened that got me bashing the media, bashing home. One, the SML situation and Ken Ofori-Atta. I just saw a post from the special prosecutor that there had been some petition to him. Yesterday, I got a call from a senior citizen later in the day that, are we just going to sit down and let this go? How are we going to? And I said, well, there are certain processes that can be triggered.
Has there been a reaction from the ministry or the government?
Not that I know of, not that I have seen, but Manasseh Azure Awene has posted on X, OSP receives petition to investigate Finance Ministry, GRA, and SML. That deal makes no sense. But before we even get into the nitty-gritty, what I wanted to say, the Daily Graphic back then had captured, 1 billion Ghana cedis, the SML saves Ghana, 1 billion Ghana cedis, SML saves Ghana, 3 billion Ghana cedis. The question is, when they were doing those stories, which reporter was on it? Who asked the relevant questions? Because obviously, these were not the case per what we now know.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
But we put the stories out there. Based on what? Because the people said that was the case? Based on what investigation? Then yesterday evening, I saw something else that you may have seen. The Pope. And the claim that, and I'm Catholic, I'm unrepentantly Catholic. And when there are things like some priests getting into certain things they shouldn't, I bash them. But when it is not, and there's mischievous media too, I feel it is in very poor taste. Pope Francis authorizes priests to bless same-sex couples. And these were themes that the Western media, you can call it an agenda, whatever, they were doing. But I was disappointed to see Ghanaian media. And I'm hitting home. Also doing same. When in fact, Peter Cardinal Appiah-Turkson had spoken in recent times and made categorical points. The BBC decided to pick its own angle. That's okay. It depends on what angle you want to pick. But it is clear what exactly the stance is. And in simple terms, without boring you to read anything, it is to say that blessing their marriages, no, it's not pastoral, it's not going to happen.
So we give some conditions.
But what it says was, but you can't also say that because they are in a certain state or they are sinning differently from you, they don't deserve God's blessings at all. So it's like, you've brought your child to church. Bless my child. Are you going to say, because both of you are gay or something, I'll not bless the child? Or that is the rationale behind it. But yet the spin, and I was really disappointed. Like, not just because I'm Catholic, but every time people like going for the sensational.
Sure.
Rather than what is accurate. So blessing, but in the context of receiving God's blessings in a certain, situation. Bless me for this, bless me for that. How does that become blessing same-sex couples? You see the mischief in there. Blessing same-sex couples. I found
So
it.
there's a
I
need
found
for
it.
the
I found it
Catholic
very
Church to shed more
disingenuous.
light on its latest stance. So that
Yes, there's something from. Let me see. I don't know whether I put that here, but one of our bishops actually put in something. I'll just find it and share, and that put the matter to bed. But I just felt that there's a certain agenda, and sometimes people feed into it without necessarily thinking. Yes. So Most Reverend Joseph Osei-Bonsu, Bishop of Konongo Mampong, actually put out something just to clarify the matter. But it shouldn't even have got here for people to, if the media had done its job well.
It's a hypersensitive issue. People, all kinds of twists. It will certainly lend itself to all kinds of twists and turns. So there's a need for the church to come clean, to shed more light, explain its stance.
But in fact, on the 11th, there was a release from the church. But with the mischievous tone, that is why now there are some reactions. And I commend the church for being speedy with this. But I keep saying that if you twist stuff like that, then you get people thinking, hey, when in fact that is not the case. And it resonates with the SML issue I was mentioning. Oh, they have saved us this, they have saved us that, when in fact they had not done any of that.
Because the reporters or the media institution failed to look at the other side, and they said that one-sided journalism is irresponsible journalism. But I will not slap the newspaper with perpetrating irresponsible journalism. And let me use the opportunity to commend most profusely Manasa Azure and your station for that expose. And this is what we need as a nation, to shed light on dark spots, expose, unravel, untangle, and hold people to account for their stewardship. If it is true, and after listening to Manasseh, I'm inclined to believe that what he put out there passes the test of truth, credibility, and because he spoke to all the angles. He spoke to the MD. He spoke to people who matter in this case. So we need to chase officialdom to react to this story. Otherwise, it's so unfortunate.
Well, like I said, that senior citizen who called me yesterday, the person was basically so aghast. It's someone I've not heard from. It's someone who actually, okay, I'll not mention, but he was so sad. And this is an elderly citizen. This man must be maybe in his late 50s or 60s. And the things he was saying, and I was just asking myself, okay, so you can allow some young people to grow maybe not despondent, but get frustrated. But the elderly too, they're getting to that point, or they are at that point. I mean, I felt really bad. I was somewhere in the evening. This person called me and said, Ben, what is going to happen on this issue? How do we hold people to account? I have said the Attorney General, and with all due respect to him, he's a fine gentleman, but you can't expect him to do anything on this. It's his government, and we have shown time and again that Attorney Generals and Ministers of Justice, which is why some say that role should be decoupled, don't necessarily serve the public interest in that way, unless there's government interest in there. You look at the OSP, and he himself, he says he's not frustrated, but everything shows that things are not going where he would want them to go. So you ask yourself, where would you take this? Where? Parliament?
As long as he remains in office, the OSP is best to handle this case. And,
well, let's pray for Ghana. We're prayerful people, but I don't know. Prayer without work, I don't know what that will get you. Remember John? Pray, but work.
Sure.
We keep praying for Ghana. Yesterday, it's not that I have seen a lot of such things happen, such deals, such things we've brought to bear and nothing has happened. But yesterday, I just looked at this particular one and I was broken.
But at the same time, we ought not slide into frustration, because it is our job to keep hammering on issues.
Mr. Money, to what end? To what end? You keep hammering on the issues. The same, in fact, the rot continues unabated as you keep talking. More kind of cry, no more. Yeah, you talk and it gets even worse. So it's almost as though people have broken, sticks and thrust them in their ears. We're talking of $100 million to an entity that is practically doing nothing. And even worse, this is a rolling thing. Every year, we are beholden to them for 10 straight years. If that is not wickedness, I don't know what it is. We are going to the IMF. We are waiting for the latest tranche. Now it's been postponed to January. We're struggling to raise how much? Yeah. 600 million. Yet every year we're willing to give 0.75% on this, oil, on gold, to the tune of about 100 million. And the finance minister himself signed that document asking for the expansion, contract expansion. Usually you would expect maybe some directors at the ministry. He did himself when the finance minister came out back then and did say indeed that SML had saved Ghana 3 billion Ghana cedis. On what? Based on what was he saying? Based on what did he sign for the contract expansion?
These are the questions we need to put to him. The hope that he will respond, and his response.
No, I have no hope about any response.
Elicit more questions.
It is what it is.
I believe we can trust your station to do the follow-up, and in the name of comprehensive journalism. And comprehensive journalism, once you tackle a story, don't go to sleep. You follow up, all the angles, probing and pushing officialdom to answer. I believe this is an issue which should not be allowed to be swept under the carpet.
Anyway, let's get into the papers. I'll do the Daily Graphic very quickly, then you do your stack of 3 before I come back. The Daily Graphic, don't get distracted from your mandate, Akufo-Addo urges Bank of Ghana. There's also 2023 WASSCE results, best in 4 years. That's according to WAEC. I actually saw the results of 2 young people who made straight A's. Straight A's. Commendable, highly commendable. Nana Mwaku is Offenso Chief-elect. 66,000 contest local polls today. I'm talking about the District Assembly Unit Committee member elections. On the back page, GSA sets up first independent laboratory and ministry hands over flood early warning equipment. So over 17 million eligible voters will go to the polls today to decide the fate of 66,257 persons who are contesting to become Assembly and Unit Committee members. The EC records show that 18,755 candidates are contesting the Assembly membership, while 47,502 are vying for slots in the Unit Committees of the 6,215 electoral areas across 259 metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. But in this context, yesterday, we conducted interviews with some people in different parts of the country, asking them whether they would vote. Some young people said yes, others said, this adds nothing to my life, and these people do nothing anyway, so why do I even have to vote? I'll come for your reaction on that shortly. But let me do the bit on page 13 as well, then we wrap, and then move away from, when I do the international news, then we move away from the Daily Graphic newspaper. This one says, this year's results of the West Africa Senior School Certificate for school candidates have been the best in 4 years, with the majority of candidates obtaining grades A1 to C6 in the 4 core subjects: English, Social Studies, Integrated Science, and Mathematics. In English language, 73.11% of the candidates obtained grades A1 to C6 this year, as against 60.39% in 2022. 54.08% in 2021 and 57.34% in 2020. You can check out the details. But when it comes to this, though, I keep asking myself, when you talk to, let's even not talk of senior high school, university students or graduates, the level of English language ability, capacity, I'm sorry to say, is woeful in this country. Woeful. People speak. You listen to even a professor speak. And I do this unintentionally. I am just that kind of person. You listen to them, after every 5 sentences, there must be a mistake. Whether it's grammar, wrong idiomatic expression use, lack of concord, I don't get it. Yet we are celebrating, they are this. It's not to say this is nothing to celebrate, but does it impact us really? Look at our writing in Ghana. look at where we were back then. Look at us now.
And we have a situation in the University of Ghana, which I decided to test students on admission. And I believe this also raises questions about the quality of education. So this is highly commendable, and your concerns are also legitimate. If we are doing so well at the WASE level, it should reflect in the quality of products we churn out every year from our institutions.
All right, just to wrap, I'll not vote for ANC. That's interesting. That's according to Jacob Zuma. He says he will not vote for the ANC. Is he voting for Julius Malewa's party, EFF? And there's Uganda court takes up challenge to harsh anti-gay law. So Uganda's Constitutional Court yesterday began hearing a challenge to an anti-LGBT law that carries the death penalty for certain same-sex acts and 20 years in prison for promoting homosexuality. So that story as well in there. Let's check out the other newspaper.
The district level elections, that story is banned in the Ghanaian Times, quoting the EC chairperson, Jimensa, urging voters to go out in their numbers to cast their vote. There's an interesting story on Dr. Baumia's running mates. Certain names have been mentioned, and prominent on the list is my good friend, Dr. Daniel Macaulay, McDan for short. And the story says a number of prominent opinion leaders and supporters of the new Patriotic Party in the Greater Accra region are putting forward a strong demand for the ruling MPP to impress upon its 2024 flag bearer, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, to choose a Ghan as running mate. And the names mentioned are Aikwe Otu, Daniel Macaulay, Magdan, Elizabeth Saki, Oko Boy, Shelley Ayoko Bochi, Obochi Saikofi, Henry Quarty, and Lord Comey. Interesting. And
Accra is very metropolitan. You can't hinge your efforts on the Greater Accra region. I don't know, but in the past, I mean, I've spoken to analysts and all of that. The NPP has had its woes in its own stronghold, the Ashanti region. You step outside of that, well, who knows? Its strongholds, Eastern, Ashanti first of all, Eastern, Western, some of those areas. If you look at the political analysis, they would want to go in that area. The Greater Accra region, like the Central region, is very difficult to grasp. It's very cosmopolitan, metropolitan, and you see, it's also like a rainbow region because everybody from everywhere comes here. Yeah. So you can't hinge your efforts on, it's not only Gadangbes who are here. That's my simple take on that.
I tend to side with you. And like Ashanti, but the Alam Fatah too is real in Ashanti. He will certainly make a dent in that region. And so it's interesting how Bauman says he needs more time to...
Which the NEC, I think, or the Council of Elders has granted him.
On the election, district level elections, I don't think as a nation we should continue to live in a delusional bubble and contort ourselves into pretending that the partisan coloration of the district level elections does not exist. After every election, MPP and AC can tell you the number of candidates they have in there.
Right.
And we are also told, every confirmed by EC, that some of the candidates have partisan party colors as their symbols.
Right.
So this to direct voters where to vote. You know, Ghana is a highly partisan nation.
In fact, those going for the assemblies and unit committees, you see some of them, when you see their posters, if you see blue background or blue and white, or blue, you know they are signaling that. And then if you see green and black, they are signaling that. But I hear someone did something very shrewd some time back. So in the areas where the person knew that there was a concentration, within the same district, there was a concentration of MPP people, the person used a blue background, and in parts of that district where the person knows that there are more NDC members, the person used a green background for the banner. But it is political, and how we handle it moving forward is up to us.
Yeah, so it's time to craft the necessary legislative piece to ensure that we go full partisan as far as these elections are concerned.
Okay, let me just sneak in this comment. So, 2 comments actually. Peter, simply Peter, says, the WASSCE results may be good, but how were these grades obtained? The fact is what you said. The level of spoken and written English at the tertiary level is what shows the true state of affairs. That is what Peter says. But I have an interesting comment. Abba William says, is English our language? Of course, I was talking about the fact that the written and spoken. I was just waiting. Abba William, is Chi or Gan or Dagbani, is that what you study in? When you go to university or you go to our institutions of education, what do you study in? So yes, I'm open to a conversation about making our local languages more prominent. But if you ask me, is English our language? I'll ask you, when you go to university or any of our universities or any institution of education, do you go and study in Dagbani?
No, not at all.
Anyway,
not at all. Not at all.
Other stories we can
The
look at.
Finder has a couple of stories competing for attention on its front page. BOG steering a more robust financial sector, according to our president. 2023 Media Capacity Enhancement Program kicks off in Accra. I have a huge interest in that story. And then, of course, the WASSCE results and the angle on the front page of the Finder is a cancellation of a number of results as owing to more practices. So we need to look at that. Whilst our students are excelling, the tendency to cheat remains palpably high. So we need to strike the necessary balance and ensure that the graduates who turn out are true graduates and not people who cheat the system to get to a certain academic height. And then on the front page of the Finder is another interesting story. By Obo Osei Kufuor, MD of Ghana Post, Obo for short, is going.
Yeah,
Asante Achim said he did try the last election. He was unsuccessful.
He's trying again.
Yeah, he's trying again. So that it's good to try and fail. Better to try and fail than to fail to try.
One thing in life, you don't want to get to the point of regret asking yourself, what if?
What if, yeah, okay.
So, I mean, if it's something he wants to explore.
Yeah.
It's him, and he feels he wants to do this. Why not?
So he has our encouragement to go ahead and then fulfill his ambition.
And it's also interesting sometimes to see people in the creative industry or the creatives, so to speak, segue into other aspects of society, because sometimes there's talk about, the creatives are not giving enough support and all that. So yes, the creatives also need to push people in there who can have a voice, who can give them a voice. So why not? I mean, he's no longer making music and all of that, but he's been there. He knows what it's like.
And back to the Media Capacity Enhancement Program. The first edition kicked off in Kumasi about 3 years ago. And I believe it's a very laudable initiative from the Ministry of Information. Thank God we have our own man and the product of multimedia occupying the most consequential position in that ministry, Honorable Kojo Ponkrumah. He was instrumental in instituting the Media Enhancement Program, and we ought to lodge at the back of our memory at all times that journalists are not born. Journalists are educated according to Joseph Pulitzer, and we have a situation where, because of the universality of the right to obtain and disseminate information, anybody at all can practice journalism, and our laws do not frown on that. But there's a need to capacitate as many as possible to ensure that it reflects in the quality of what we turn out to our media consumers.
We have to go. Let me quickly bring in the Daily Guide newspaper. Is there a headline you want to bring from Economy Times? Maybe just one. I'll bring in this.
Cost of credits to soften next year. If you turn the corner economically, it doesn't make sense that the cost of borrowing is
still so high.
Yeah, so prohibitive.
You're looking at almost 40%.
Yeah.
The Daily Guide, Interior Ministry hits road, but I'll just focus on these two very quickly. Ghanaian women less corrupt, that's according to the AG, Godfrey Adame, has said women are less susceptible to corruption as compared to men. And he said this at the just concluded 10th session of the Conference of State Parties to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. So I guess that's the script. Why not get more women in there? But this final one, angry Bagbin slams Nana over 3 bills. What are the 3 bills? He berated the president for saying that the Criminal Offences Amendment Bill 2023, the Criminal Offences Amendment Number 2 Bill 2023, and the Ghana Armed Forces Amendment Bill 2023 introduced as private members' bills had financial implications on the Consolidated Fund. He's basically saying there are punitive measures, and if they go to jail, then the state is going to have to bear it. And so it's really curious, but we have to go. I don't know whether you can tell me something in 10 seconds.
His rhetoric was harsh. I listened to him, but
in recent times, he's called the president a lame duck.
Lame duck, and
now
it's important to emphasize the point that constructive tension between the executive and the legislature is preferable to destructive coziness between the two institutions.
Anyway, let's just get this wish out of the way. Happy birthday to the board chairman of the National Sports Authority, Seth Panwum, a.k.a. Boyoyo. And may this year of your life come with enormous blessings. And the a.k.a. wasn't provided by me. It was provided by our sports crew. So, Mr. Panwum, a very happy birthday to you. That's how we cap off the news review. But Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment. They are offering you free prostate screening if you're a man, free fertility screening if you're a woman. All you have to do is head to any of their branches. Here in Accra at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma Boy here behind the Angel Educational Complex. The Stakrade Anaji State Tema Committee 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiaman Zima. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Bringing us to the end of the news review, Mr. Money. Nagodi. You would say Bagodia.
Bagodia.
Thank you for joining. Sports is up next.